From 2000 to 2010, Ball was up fourfold on a profitability perspective, sevenfold on a market cap perspective. And so I have the great liberty of coming in and saying, oh, how are we going to replicate that? That was the origins of Drive for 10. We've been on a tear for the past 10 years. How do we replicate it over the next 10 years? It was really understanding those mega drivers in terms of urbanization and resource scarcity and demographics. But it was also trying to understand and create a platform by which to rally everyone around Ball Corporation. And when you're in a multi-product line company making satellites for the US government and making beer and soft drink cans, it's tough. It's not tough, it's a challenge to create an opportunity to everyone to know that the name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back, and the first name is Ball. We actually took a fresh look at what we thought 10 years from now looked like. Here in America, it is changing demographics. And in most parts of Europe, it's changing demographics. People are getting older, and when people get older, they drink less. Which is a downside for a company such as ours that provides the beverage world with packaging. On the other side, it's also a plus because they spend more time at home than they do out at the pubs, at the restaurants, at the bars. And our package largely is a take-home package. So whether it's the United States and or in Europe, you know, there's bad news and good news coming out of that. But to really understand what it means is real important. You know, for example, here in the United States, we're talking about aging demographics. That's one of the reasons why beer has been losing share to wine and spirits, because people don't consume as much as they get older. They'll still have a cocktail, they'll still have a glass of wine, but a beer may be a little bit too heavy. We have another part of the demographics that is quite young that really hasn't reached drinking age yet, the 13 to 19 years old, and even if extended up to 24-year-olds. That's a big bubble, and that's moving through the system, and I think longer term it's going to be helpful to all this, but it's going to take some time. I truly believe there's growth in every geography. You just got to find it. And for example, here in North America, we have been growing in the beverage can business, for example. The standard 12-ounce containers have been declining, but our specialty cans have been growing double-digit rates. You know, when you think about what is specialty, well, it's everything from 32-ounce or 24-ounce or a 8.4-ounce can of energy drink. It's about some of the bottles we've been developing. It's about the 7.5-ounce cans we've been making for the sub-100-calorie sodas to address the health and wellness issue. So just in North America, while it's a very anemic from a growth perspective, we've been able to find some growth. I think same holds true in Europe. It's really understanding from a market and a customer perspective where those opportunities are. Each country in Europe is different from what we see, and some of it is cannibalization of other packaging substrates, returnable bottles, or one-way packaging. I think there's great opportunity continued in places in Eastern Europe, as well as places like Germany that put a deposit legislation in over a decade ago, and it was very painful early on, but we're growing our way out of it. In China, it's really the rise in the middle class, and the urbanization that's going on there is creating outsized growth. It's just a very competitive world out there. And then even in places in South America, particularly Brazil, but even less so Argentina, there has been a rise in the middle class. Now, they define middle class a little bit different than we would here in North America, but they're able to have more disposable income. And when I say middle class, I'm really talking about the rise in disposable income in people's pockets. And so when you're able to see those types of things, that is very good for our product. Fast-moving consumer good companies do well when middle classes and disposable incomes are rising, and we try and win on the tails of those folks. We talk about being close to the customer, and it starts with me and extends all the way down through the organization. Every customer is a bit different. And so just without naming names, to pick on some of the work we do with one customer, I think sometimes I often wonder if our people are on their payroll. They're constantly working with them, and it's not just working with the procurement or supply chain people. They're working with their innovation teams, they're working with their marketing teams, their branding teams, their channel delivery teams, to really understand what's the need that the consumer and they ultimately are looking for. You know, we always wish there's some magic bullet out there you can say, aha, there's the opportunity. More often than not, it's, as I call it, it's hanging around the hoop. And over time, you're able to see some trends, you're able to see some opportunities and identify those types of things That's how we work with, for example, one customer. Another customer, it may be very much an arm's length supplier-buyer type of relationship. We find, however, that the more we're able to get and truly understand our customers, the better that we are able to deliver on the needs of those customers. Because when you have just a buyer-seller relationship, you're selling buggy whips. You're shooting at things in the dark. You don't know what they really need, and they don't know what they really want. The world is moving so much faster than it has in the past, and I think as a result of that, the traditional supplier-buyer relationship has been breaking down, and it either becomes much more transactional or much more relational. And obviously what we're trying to do is create much more relational because that's the way we do business, that's part of our DNA. But you clearly are seeing, because people are fighting for that growth out there, they can't do it on their own, and so they're looking up and down the supply chains, much like we are as well, to try and figure out how we can do it together and make it more streamlined and get things out more quickly. It's really finding those seams of growth and really understanding that you have to win on the margins. You either have to be low cost in the standard products or you got to innovate. But don't get stuck in the middle and try and do both and do the same thing to the same consumers. And so with our standard products, we are trying to be low cost, low cost, low cost. And in the places where there's seams of growth, we try and be innovative, 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 because that really helps you define what the middle class needs. From an innovation perspective, we've done several different things. We have invested more of our P&L dollars into it. We have put more capability, and we completely renovated our innovation lab here in North America on the beverage and food can side of the business and aerosol side of the business. And we've also beefed up the people side of it and changed a bit around the reporting lines. Before it was more of a centralized function, and we've tried to push it to the businesses, because when you're customer focused and you're working on a customer focused strategy, those folks have to be as close to the customer as anyone else. So it's a bit of a mind change, it's a bit of a structure change, and a bit of an investment change as well. The backbone of that Drive for 10 was about celebrating who we are, not only the last 10 years, but over the last 130 years. And that gets to our values: uncompromising integrity, close to the customer, being innovative, behaving like an owner. Those types of things are very, very important to us. And these are not just words, they're part of our DNA. Once we're able to have that building block, then you can talk about who we are, then you get to talk about what we're trying to do, and then how we're going to do it. That's where the rubber meets the road relative to Drive for 10. What we're trying to do is as much about the 5 levers, broadening our geographic presence, maximizing what we're doing today, maximizing the value of our business. It's about new products, it's about new markets, it's about new customers, really understanding that. All of our competitors can buy the exact same equipment we do, but it's our people that make a difference, and I truly believe that. And you have to do that, there's an obligation for folks like me to let people know what we're trying to do, the progress we're making, how we're doing it, and are we being successful or not.